All right, everybody, stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. After market close here, a company that everyone keeps an eye on, Palantir Technologies, ticker symbol PLTR, listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. The company closed $16.72, down 30 cents, roughly 1.75% here. And we can see after hours, the stock is popping here to almost 19 and 3/4, up over 3 points currently, and a touch over 18%. The company comes out absolutely, well, it doesn't really annihilate earnings. However, the big thing that I was personally looking for was the bump up in revenue here up to north of 600 million. If we come back, obviously the growth year over year cannot be denied as well. In my opinion, I feel it may still be a little overvalued in the numbers. However, again, to go off of what we've been saying, these stocks that constantly and consistently come out above analyst expectations on the EPS side, on the revenue side, they constantly receive upgrades from financial institutions. Institutions increase their price targets, increase their positions. All of these are consistent positive catalysts, and that is what just really adds to this snowball effect, whether it's to the upside or it's to the downside. But you can see that even though revenue has been growing nicely quarter over quarter for Palantir, you can see that the company was maintaining this like $500 to $550 million mark for the last 4 quarters in a row. And now with estimates coming in above 600 million, I think that's why, in my opinion, the stock is having such an even greater positive reaction than it would on just an average earnings beat. Some people were looking for like a 7, 8, 10% move, and as we can see again, after hours, the stock is currently up 18%. Estimates of revenue were 602.875 million. The company posts 608.35 million, and of course comes in almost half a cent above EPS estimates from analysts. So the company, in my opinion, is probably going to keep feeding and going off of this positive news, right? If we switch over here to stock charts, we can see that the RSI was essentially middle of the road, and the company was being kept down below this 50-day moving average since basically the beginning of December, right? So it's been kind of just mulling along down in this consolidation state, just waiting for these earnings to come out. We can see the rejection today off of the 50-day moving average up there at 1746. But more importantly, you can see also the MACD has been essentially pretty much flat. It almost wanted to cross there not too long ago. However, it immediately bounced back and ran up on anticipation of these earnings coming out. So that's usually, one of the rules we always say is that usually these companies, if we have good expected increase in earnings coming up, then usually they will run up a little bit and rally going into those earnings. And obviously, you really might not even have to hold through earnings if you're doing some quick short-term option trading. But of course, for all shareholders out there, I mean, this is excellent news, especially for the long term. And again, they're saying that 2024 profitability is going to stay up and look very healthy. So nothing really but positives here in Palantir. Again, my only biggest red flag is the fact that the company's doing like, 2.8 billion, 3 billion in annual revenue, and the market cap right now is up at 30 plus billion, approaching 40 billion. So that's why technically, if we look at that one fundamental comparison, we could say that the stock is overvalued and could technically pull back and at any time. However, again, with consistent positive catalysts coming out on the stock, this may really turn out to be a phenomenal longer term hold over the years. We're seeing steady and stable growth, and they're doing so ahead of schedule. And that's why we saw this big pop again. When I first spoke about it, I kind of said the same thing, that in my opinion, it was kind of overvalued in the numbers. And even if they beat, we really shouldn't have an explosion. But again, if you remember what happened here, when the stock really began to take off, what happened was the company went net income positive, and they did so ahead of schedule. So that's why they were massively rewarded. And even when they pulled back, you can see they only pulled back to about that 14 level and then bounced right away. So that may be the near-term low right now of this stock, potentially. In my eyes, that's what I'm seeing at around that $14 level. However, with another positive earnings coming out, we could potentially bump that up a little bit, and the stock may potentially, moving forward, stay above this weekly 50-day moving average here, which of course is only going to slowly further increase in value and probably get up to 15 plus. So that's why, again, that in my opinion, that may show us that that's one of the near-term immediate lows. But here on the weekly as well, the RSI sitting basically middle of the road, sitting at about 50. We were trending downward and pulling back for the last couple of months. But again, with this positive news coming out, chances are that's all going to turn around. And this top Bollinger Band here on the weekly, 2043, in my opinion, that is probably where the stock is going to go. And you can see also that even after this big dip and this sell-off here, in mid-September, you can see that since then the stock has been making higher lows. And overall, we can see that when we first ran up off of this earnings report, you can see that we made our high here, and then we're kind of consistently, slowly making higher highs as well, which is why, again, I'm saying, like, if we pull back here, you can see maybe high 22s, low 23s, in my opinion, is actually where the stock is going to go. But they, of course, they can't do that immediately. So chances are they're probably going to pop it up here. And let's check again, 1954 right now after hours, right? So 2043, in my opinion, feeding off this news, might be very possible inside of the next day or two. After that, they could potentially pause the stock for a little bit, have it hang out for a week or two. Because again, you can see when we have these pops and these drops, our Bollinger Bands balloon up and balloon out. And then you can see that as the stock kind of slows down and gets into the consolidation mode again, you can see the tightening of the Bollinger Bands, right? So we had a big run up here in October, and you can see the widening, the trumpeting of the Bollinger Bands. And now as we pulled back and consolidated around the mid Bollinger Band, you can see now the bottom Bollinger Band is curling upward, and you had the top Bollinger Band about to curl downward. So now we're having the tightening again, and that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, we could potentially take that next leg higher to the 22s and the 23s. Here it's sitting right here at about 19.5. You can see this is a key level right here for this stock. But again, because they came out and beat earnings and said that profitability was going to remain strong going forward throughout 2024, AI demand is up. Everyone thought they were going to get more revenue on the government side, and they ended up getting more revenue on the commercial side, actually coming in above analyst expectations on the commercial side. So the company is not only kind of doing what everyone expected them to do, but they're also now doing better down other avenues that were potentially, I don't want to say less expected, but we'll say lower than expected, like not necessarily the priority, right? So the fact that the commercial revenue saw the increase and came in above estimates, I think that actually trumped any numbers that came out on said government revenue. But let's look at the pivot points real quick, and I'll let you guys go. You can see pivot points on the daily. We ran up here 1787. You can see this resistance level 1774, and then we pulled back to 1672 there, right there at that other pivot point of 1670. So it really it shot up and then pulled back and just stayed in between those two pivot points. But again, right now, double check stock right now, still trading above 19.5, right? So it's technically sitting slightly above this second level resistance here on the daily, which is why I'm saying we could easily break up and go to 20 plus again in the immediate short term. Of course, again, given some time, we could go higher, and it could happen just within the next 1, 2, 3 days. All of a sudden, the stock could jump up to $20, $22, $24. But I do think that they're going to have the initial pop. You might have a little bit more of a rally, and then they may kind of calm it down for a little bit, and then it could take the next leg higher into the lower to mid 20s potentially, and just continue that trend of higher highs. But here on the weekly, we can see next level resistance up at 2407, which is why, again, that in my opinion may take a little bit more time. But to feed off of these highs, let's just double check here. High 2024. High 2185, right? So that's almost a 1.5 higher. So if hypothetically this trend does continue, we're talking about 23 and a quarter potentially could be the next high hit, and then we could start to sell off and pull back a little bit before taking that next leg higher, you know, over the next couple of months. But you know, we'll see what happens. But overall, Palantir, PLTR, shout out to all of you who are long-term investors into this, who bought it, you know, down at the low teens or 10, sub 10 before it had that nice rally. Congratulations. Any of my short-term stock or option traders out there who rolled the dice and stepped in on some shares or some calls on PLTR right before they reported earnings. Congratulations, 17% pop. I'm sure the options are going to move very, very nicely for you tomorrow and, of course, over the next day or two, probably. So let us know if you were involved in some PLTR calls, what you bought, what expiration and strike you bought, and yeah, what your strategy is moving forward. Are you going to liquidate immediately? Are you going to give it a couple of days? Did you buy 2-3 months of time? And are you going to give it now, 2, 3, 4 weeks to see what happens? So let us know down in the comments section, but I'm going to end it there. So once again, Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But of course, more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they're very uncertain. I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.